Like you want to see people as a label, you nak banding-bandingkan dalam satu diagnosis yang sama pun. Kalau ada yang anak saya high functioning, center tu ramai sangat yang low functioning, tak sesuai lah untuk anak saya. All this kita sendiri yang beza-bezakan dalam community kita sendiri, which is not helpful, especially if the parents want to be an advocate.
Do you think I would treat you differently? And the answer that came to me was, Mummy, you don't even treat Nirav differently. The therapist got shocked. But that was my only way to express to the therapist that he was being ableist. I couldn't say the word. Tak boleh nak menyakitkan hati orang kan. Sebab dia orang sakitkan hati, I kena diam je kan.
The society belum lagi not equally educated or respond the same. So personally, I would hear the parents out.
Hai, salam sejahtera dan selamat datang ke episod ke-43 Kita Family Podcast. Di podcast ini, kami akan membincangkan perihal yang berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup bermasyarakat, menghargai keunikan serta kepelbagaian sesama kita dan meraihkan masyarakat yang berbilang kaum, agama, kepercayaan, rupa dan juga keupayaan. Kita menghargai hidup secara inklusif yang mengambil kira keperluan segenap lapisan masyarakat, terutamanya bagi mereka yang kurang atau berkelainan upaya. Hari ini kami ada satu topik yang sangat menarik. Sebenarnya semua topik kita ni menarik kan. Tapi bila dah membuka topik baru mestilah cakap menarik. So, hari ini kami akan membincangkan atau mengupas topik tentang ableism. Ya, bersama-sama saya di studio hari ini Anit.
Hello, apa khabar?
Kakak SK.
Apa khabar?
Dan di Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Didi.
Hai, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera.
Nori tidak dapat bersama-sama kami pada hari ini, tetapi dia kirim salam mesra kepada semua penonton kami. So, let's get started. Today, we are talking about ableism. Sebenarnya, sebelum start tadi, adalah Google dalam bahasa Melayu ni apa sebenarnya ableism. Tapi tak jumpa perkataan yang tepat. So, we will continue to refer to the term as ableism in English as we proceed with the episode. So, kita mulalah dengan sedikit definisi. Apakah itu ableism? Or what is ableism? It is discrimination or prejudice against people with disabilities based on the idea that typical abilities are the standard or normal. Ya, so kalau dalam bahasa Melayu, diskriminasi atau prejudice lah terhadap mereka yang kurang upaya, dan tanggapan bahawa normal, seseorang yang normal adalah normal yang semua orang perlu comply with. Yeah. And ableism is not just about outright discrimination. It is also assumptions atau tanggapan that frame how society operates, like expecting everyone to function or behave in a specific standard way. Kan? So kita menganggap satu contoh lah yang Desiree selalu bercerita kalau mana-mana talk atau forum, I always talk about this, our children's stimming. Kan? I think my personal view is kalau kita suruh mereka yang STEAM to stop, that is also ableism. Kan? So, let's get into it. So, I'm going to go to Anit first. Tell us your thoughts on what do you think ableism is and maybe some types that you've come across.
Okay, to me, ableism is something that I was guilty of as well before I started my work with OK Rights. I think it's the way we are brought up, the way we are conditioned that okay, kalau kita kena pergi sekolah, kita kena behave in a certain way, kita kena berdisiplin. Kalau kita berkelakuan lain daripada apa yang sepatutnya itu tidak normal. Dan it was the whole idea of having to conform. So, katalah kat sekolah, kalau semua orang pakai kasut warna hitam, kalau you tak ada kasut warna hitam tu, you don't fit in. Jadi it's that is probably a simple way of saying it, but katalah orang yang mempunyai ketidakupayaan yang tidak nyata hidden disabilities. Okay, so katalah kita disclose lah, anak saya ni memang ada autisma, anak saya ni anak neurodivergent. Tapi kalau cikgu nampak dan cikgu kata, tapi nampak normal. That is ableist. That is ableist behavior, because you are saying to someone that you are not disabled. And the insinuation is, you ni macam buat cerita ya, sengaja nak cakap kan. So that concept is something that we need to be conscious about, and I've become more conscious. I can say that, but it's thanks to my work. So I want to thank Kita Family for doing this episode, because we want to get the message out there that it is something that we need to work as a society. The same way we say don't be racist, don't be sexist, don't think only women can do this job and men can do that job. Similarly, don't be ableist, thinking that disabled cannot do certain jobs, the disabled cannot do or cannot go to the movies, they cannot be part of drama, and that is ableist. Okay, so kalau nak bagi contoh, I want to tell everybody about this experience that I saw a couple of weeks ago, because sometime earlier this year, there was a group of neurodivergents that started this 12-week program called Theatre Untuk Semua. Why did they do that? Because let's say the theatre scene in Malaysia, they do not appear to be inclusive to those who are disabled, whether physically disabled or whether they are neurodivergent or there's any other form of hidden disabilities. And it was a 12-week course, and I went for the finale, where each of the participants who had undergone the 12 weeks, they put up a show. Dan saya amat terharu kerana ada ketidakupayaan yang berbagai jenis, tetapi mereka dapat perform. Ada seseorang itu, beliau membuat performance dia dalam bahasa Melayu dan ceritakan berkenaan siapakah sahabat paling karib dia, dan cara dia cerita itu dengan bahasa Malaysia yang sangat berbunga dan sangat sophisticated. Tapi akhirnya apa yang dia tengah ceritakan adalah berkenaan kerusi roda dia. And that was an amazing scene. There was another one of a girl who spoke about her aspirations and dreams of just going out on a date and being treated as normal. But she was deaf because she couldn't hear, and she had bilateral cochlear implants. But it was her hope and aspirations. And I then realized how amazing this group of trainers were to work with them, because there was a deaf guy who performed and there was a sign language interpreter that gave a running commentary. And it just showed me that semua orang boleh buat apa yang mereka hendak buat jika dipimpin. Selepas hanya 12 minggu mereka menjalani program ini.
Not only pimpin, disokong.
Ya, dan sokongan itu sangat memerangsangkan, right? It's just like, wow.
Accommodation at its best.
At its best.
Yes.
So they can be part of theatre too. And I think for me, at the end, when somebody said, oh, there's a talent scout in the room, saya yang bersorak paling kuat sebab yes, hopefully somebody will identify this talent, and then one or two people in the theatre scene who are kurang upaya will lead the way.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful sharing, kan?
Yes.
So dari sharing Anit yang mula-mula sekali, the example of, oh tapi nampak normal. So here's another version of that. Tapi handsome, tapi cantik. You know, so what are your thoughts on that? Pernah tak? I mean, I get it all the time.
I've got it all the time with Biniraf.
So macam mana Anit rasa bila orang cakap macam tu?
Okay, anak saya tu mungkinlah ala-ala Bollywood kan.
Memang pun. It's not even a question. Nirav is very
But
handsome.
yeah, faktanya Nirav memang
Memang
handsome.
Nah, tapi janganlah. He's autistic. Oh, tapi dia handsome. I get that all the time with Hans.
Oh, tapi dia
Ya, macam Amy lah. Amy pun kena juga.
Kan?
Anit kan
Sebab kan
lesung pipi
they
dia.
both go to the same school kan. Amy dan Afia. And then bila cakap dengan kawan Afia, oh Amy pun autistik juga seperti Afia. And then dia cakap, tapi Amy cute.
Ofia pun
macam,
cute. Tell them.
Good.
So the message is, sesiapa yang berkelainan upaya atau kurang upaya tu boleh juga handsome, boleh juga cute, boleh juga cantik kan. Tidak
Like a
semesti
hidden disability.
Yeah. So any neurodivergent can be that way too. And I think I also want to share this story because my first experience with neurodiversity was through a very close family friend, almost like my godbrother, who was diagnosed with dyslexia when he was in standard 5. Dan dia dalam sekolah kerajaan, and this is like 40 years punya story lah. Okay. Tapi pada masa itu, bila diagnosis dibuat, diagnosis itu menjadi satu like light bulb moment untuk kami semua sebab memang tidak faham kenapa sampai darjah 5 pun susah untuk dia membaca dan mengira. Tetapi kerana diagnosis itu kami semua mula faham. Tetapi bila ibu bapa kepada dia pergi ke sekolah dan sekolah kebangsaan dan menceritakan kepada cikgu, the cikgu's comment was, tapi dia nampak normal. So that was almost an express ableism that a person who has hidden disabilities cannot be disabled sebab dia nampak normal. So it doesn't need to be physically disabled. And so let's be open to the fact that disabilities are varied.
Yes.
We need to make accommodations along the way. So when we design anything, whether it is a show, whether it is an app, let's make it accessible for everybody, regardless of their disabilities.
Absolutely. Actually,
So dalam pada tu, I just want to add on kan. So Didi mentioned just now the hidden disability yang tersembunyi or keupayaan berlainan yang tak terlihat ya. So I was listening, I think the common word yang kami kenal is the stereotyping kan.
yes.
Actually stereotyping this person who looks like that must be like that, or if we learn about stereotyping, it's about being aware kan. So a lot of the challenges is when the physical disability is not visible, there is the unmatched expectation to behave or to perform actually. Not only the behave but performance yang mesti so we have to learn.
Yeah.
Tak cucuk, right?
Yes.
And in fact I have an experience I want to share. Sometimes we must be mindful whilst we are worried that the typical people may not be aware and so have this prejudice. I've also experienced where the people with disability, because they have been conditioned,
Yeah.
also fight against that. Yeah. So this again is about inclusion. Kesemuanya, whether people with disability also, we must encourage each and every one of all of us to give everybody a safe space to be themselves.
Yep.
Kakak, do you see it in your work that this neurodivergents want to be normal? They want to just be included.
I am going to share a story about ableism, of how exactly that keadaan macam tu, because the community or the value system is to be normal. Yeah. We know that during exams, we can get exam accommodation, kan?
Yes.
for extra time lah, or typing lah. Okay,
Or separate room.
a separate room, many different type of accommodation. However, I will share this because this is something that is very dear to our family.
Yeah.
Joshua baru go through this period where he has to do exam O levels, and he is able to get accommodation, but he decided in conversation with us that I do not wish to have this accommodation. Yeah. So just as an alert, and as a parents, what we decided to do is that be himself. Okay. Although as parents, we are very anxious that kami perlu bagikan all the accommodation for him to do well. But we decided to allow him what he needs himself. Yeah. In that sense, if we come back to your question, was he chose not to have the accommodation. It was a huge learning for our family. Yeah. Huge learning that we mustn't also apply our ableism to enable him in the other way. A bit roommate, kan?
Yes,
It's a bit
yes.
roommate.
It's very convoluted.
It's
yes.
very, it can be confusing, but we learn to be supportive.
Absolutely.
So our learning there, kalau boleh we share, is we won't know whether that will cost him because results not out yet. But I think as a family, kami amat peaceful lah. Yeah, peaceful that decision was made together, but he made the call.
Absolutely. That's very supportive. So itu adalah salah satu contoh of internalized ableism.
Yes.
Where the person with the disability feels the need to conform to a society norm. Tadi sebelum kakak sharing, Anit dah share tentang very obvious kind of ableism kan. So ada lagi one more jenis which is subtle ableism. I'm wondering if our Didi in Kota Kinabalu ada tak contoh-contoh of subtle ableism, like contohnya one of it is when we praise people for saying you've overcome your disability and you managed to do this. So apa pendapat Didi atau contoh-contoh dari Didi?
Selalu sangat kan macam
Kan?
dia boleh bukankah dia autistic macam tu kan. So that's the thing about autism because it's a big spectrum in terms of abilities, in terms of how it affects someone kan. So ramai orang dia punya ni tak ada, even dia punya assumption pun tak ada standard. Ada yang macam boleh buat ada yang macam dia tengok kenapa takkan tak boleh buat dah umur macam ni kan. So selalu sangat tak match sebab actually kalau kita kata pada anak-anak tipikal pun kalau people make assumption, people make all these remarks selalu je tak match sebab everybody has different capabilities, different level of performance kan. So dia memang benda yang selalulah. But I think in terms of ableism yang for me kita boleh bincangkan juga hari ini ialah ableism di kalangan community autism sendiri. Di mana kita kan kalau dulu dipanggil mild, moderate, severe. And then ada pula high functioning, low functioning. So bila kita bagi tahu anak saya autistik, and then kita punya saudara ke apa kata, high functioning kan? Tak apa. So macam all this like kalau high functioning tak apa. Kalau low functioning alah kesiannya. And then for me it's like you just imagine kita kalau ada anak tipikal, anak biasalah anak tipikal. Orang datang tanya, anak you pandai ke tak berapa pandai? Do you do that? Anak you IQ berapa ataupun bila you cakap you ada sakit jantung, sakit jantung you dah tenat ke ataupun baru. So those are not appropriate kan, betul tak? Like you want to see people as a label, you nak banding-bandingkan. Dalam satu diagnosis yang sama pun kalau ada yang anak saya high functioning, center tu ramai sangat yang low functioning, tak sesuai lah untuk anak saya. All this kita sendiri yang beza-bezakan dalam community kita sendiri, which is not helpful, especially if the parents want to be an advocate. You kalau nak advocate, you tak boleh untuk level anak you saja ya. You perlu look at it as the whole community, the whole spectrum. So tak boleh macam, oh, I'm only going to speak up for level 1 autism only, level 2, level 3 I tak tahu. Tak boleh macam tu. And then kita sekarang dah faham sebenarnya all this kan, how autism affect our kids kan. Dia tak ada je macam kalau level 1 sikit-sikit je, but there are issues yang sebenarnya level 1 ke level 3 ke sama. Contoh sensory, ada yang certain sensory wise yang sama dengan yang level 1 hadapi sama dengan level 3 kan. So it's a big thing, banyak nak kena faham, tapi kalau tak faham jangan buat-buat faham, assumption. So I think kita sebagai advocate, sebagai ahli community kan, parents to autistic, it's very important to understand and try not to be ableist lah kita, sebab kita nak sokong everybody in the community, dan kita tak nak lah dalam kita nak support anak kita, kita tanpa sedar menyakitkan hati parents lain ke ataupun individu autistik tu sendiri.
Betul. And I think the leveling kan, and as we hear from our neurodivergent friends now who are telling us the levels 1, 2 and 3, mild, moderate and severe, is how we experience their autism or their autistic traits. Sebab it doesn't mean that their challenges are less just because it's level 1. The challenges are different kan. And I always get this as well, sebab Hans memang tak boleh bercakap kan because of the apraxia of speech. So people would say, oh, if only he could speak, it would be easier for you. I'm like, but how do you know? Even I don't know. I'm sure if you tanya Hans, dia sendiri tak tahu if it would be easier for anyone if he can speak. And how do we know even if it's that hard for him in the first place? Because he's experiencing his autism as his version of normal. So kepada Hans, dia normal. Dia normal kepada diri dia sendiri. And it goes back to one of the things tadi kita bincangkan sebelum we started this episode, where I always get this from well-meaning lah friends and family. Oh, just treat Hans like he's normal. Everything will be fine. But in my mind, I mean, very politely I will nod along and say, yeah, of course. But to me, I'm wondering, normal ni sebenarnya apa?
Betul.
What is the definition of normal?
Actually, I want to pipe in here that there was one therapist who actually tried to tell me that or in front of my neurotypical kids, that I should not be treating them any differently. And at that point, I turned around to one of my neurotypical kids and said to them, do you think I would treat you differently? And the answer that came to me was, Mummy, you don't even treat Nirav differently. The therapist got shocked. But that was my only way to express to the therapist that he was being ableist. I couldn't say the word. Tak boleh nak menyakitkan hati orang kan. Sebab dia orang sakitkan hati, I kena diam je kan. Telan je. Tapi cara untuk advocate that was not an appropriate thing to say was to get the kid to say it. And, I'm so glad that and blessed that the neurotypical kids did say it. So when they suddenly went, it was almost an assumption that the parents would treat somebody who has a hidden disability or neurodivergent person differently. And itu tidak digalakkan, sebab actually kepada anak, kalau kata kita sebagai ibu bapa, pada kita semua sama kan. Tak ada yang kita rasa lain, sebab they're all our kids. They may not be the same, but they're all our kids. And cara kita mengajar, memupuk tu memang akan ikut apa yang mereka perlu, keperluan mereka dan keupayaan mereka. Tetapi bukannya kita akan cakap, pasal tu kita akan invest kurang sikit lah pada this kid, janganlah bagi dia peluang yang sama. So that's why I wanted to ask Kakak SK. Sebab in the course of therapy and everything, do you see parents who don't want to disclose the disability, for the fear of this ableist behavior of others in society and others in, let's say, an educational institution?
Yeah. So the answer is obviously yes.
And how often?
I don't have an exact number, but the underpinning ni, all this is about fear of not being accepted, and some of this fear actually is practical, because the society belum lagi not equally educated or respond the same. So personally, I would hear the parents out, because their fears may be real to them and is in conversation lah. Yeah. Why do they need to be ableist? Is to give their children a chance. Yeah. They may recognize dalam keadaannya it's not a fair playing field.
Yeah.
Kan? So parents are always hopeful. They would want to do that. So we are not discussing whether it's right or wrong. As supportive parents, the unknown, selalunya bila unknown, the protective instinct may come out.
Yes, absolutely.
Ya, biasanya is the protective instinct untuk melindungkan anak-anak dia, is to try to shape what is normal lah. Yeah. So for us, kalau we can embrace terminology maybe more typical, or I like another phrase, more expected, kan? Because the normal is very different.
Yeah.
Cultural difference pun tak normal, kan? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Anit, the answer is, I think for a while, until there's more opportunity to be sharing, to provide the safe space, to be educated, kesemuanya ni lah, there will still be this part of educating, right? And the community come together to be safe, to encourage each other. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think encouraging each other is so important, right? And so we've covered quite a lot so far. And before we go for a quick break, I just want to emphasize what ableism looks like. Ada sebenarnya satu source di sini, disabled by society. So I'll just read out the different kinds of what ableism looks like. One is believing a disability is visible or physical. Telling someone that they don't look it, right? Asking a person to prove they are disabled. Okay, this is just not okay lah, guys. This is not okay. Making a judgment on a disabled person's capacity. Designing or creating something inaccessible. I think this is something we still face quite a bit, but we are moving along. Not making your recruitment process accessible. Refusing to make an event or environment accessible. Using outdated or offensive language. And lastly, you asking a person to prove they are disabled.
Yeah.
So,
Desiree, can I come? I have a pet peeve here about not making accessibility.
yeah.
Is something very traditional, sudah long-standing ni, is that bathroom. I believe whoever is listening, whether you're government ke, family ke, retail ke, that is already a fundamental to give wheelchair access.
Yeah.
Is no longer a governmental requirement. It is just basic.
Human rights.
I wouldn't even go at rights. It's just so simple.
Yeah.
Right? If you need to allow for space, and of course, dulu-dulunya ada banyak debate, tambahlah expenses. Actually, no. It is in a basic design.
Yeah.
Right? So, going to the bathroom is a very basic part of our daily living.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So please, in all that, the access accommodation, the
Toilets.
ableism, the toilet, bukan saja a door. After door, I want to say something. Having put the door wider, kalaupun ada ramp, the bathroom taps don't work.
Yeah.
There is no follow through. The lock to the door pun don't work, right? So these expected that they can lock, expected that there is water is not acceptable anymore.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. So we hope all these public spaces, please upgrade your OKU toilets. If you don't have one, build one. And if you only have one, please build some more on every floor at least. So we'll be back after the break. Hai, selamat kembali ke episod ke-43 Kita Family Podcast. Hari ini kami membincangkan satu topik yang sangat menarik. Seperti saya kata tadi, semua topik kita menarik. Tapi topik ni hangat sedikit because we're talking about ableism. Kan? Ableism, which is prejudice atau diskriminasi terhadap mereka yang kurang upaya. So let's get right into it. We are going to go straight to Kota Kinabalu sekarang and get Didi's views on kenapa sebenarnya ableism ni bahaya sebenarnya. But let's talk about it. Why is it harmful?
Okay, bila kita ableist kan, kita membeza-bezakan mengikut keupayaan. Oh, you OKU. OKU ni of course kalau ikut statistik tidak seramai mereka yang tiada kat OKU, bukan OKU. Jadi bila kita rasa macam OKU bukan ramai, yang pakai wheelchair bukan ramai, yang ada autistik bukan ramai, ada yang rasakan tak penting untuk memberikan kemudahan-kemudahan, accommodation dalam nilah kehidupan seharian. Dari segi peluang juga, dari segi accessibility, sebab rasa macam nilai insan OKU ni macam tak sama level dengan insan normal, insan yang lain, which is tak patutlah. Sepatutnya kan kita sepatutnya memandang semua orang sama rata lah. Sama juga macam zaman dulu-dulu kan, kalau lelaki, mungkin value-nya lebih tinggi daripada kalau kita pandang wanita. Tapi sekarang kita dah dapat equality, gender equality tu kita dah terima. So sekarang ni kita mengharapkan equality dari segi mereka yang OKU dan mereka yang bukan OKU lah. Tak boleh lah lagi ada discrimination ataupun rasa macam tak penting, ataupun rasa macam mereka ni menyusahkan. Alah, nak buat ramp susah lah. You carilah tempat lain. Dah kalau bank ni you tak boleh datang sebab tak ada ramp, you carilah bank lain yang ada ramp. Mentality tu kan yang kita harap dapat berubah lah. Sebab hak untuk hidup dengan peluang, dengan accessibility yang sama rata ni adalah untuk semua. Kita tak boleh kata kalau you boleh datang, you datang. Kalau you tak boleh datang, then that's it. It's not our problem. Tak boleh macam tu. Sebab kan kita selalu fikir OKU, non-OKU ni, orang yang tak OKU lebih kepada yang ada diagnosis, yang ada kecacatan kekal, yang perlukan wheelchair. Sedangkan ada masa kita yang tiada masalah ni pun akan dalam keadaan OKU, mungkin temporary, sebab mungkin kita ada kemalangan ke, kita ada kecederaan, ataupun satu hari nanti na'udzubillah lah kalau mungkin kena stroke ke, so kita hilang keupayaan yang bukan daripada lahir kan. Kita daripada mula-mula dari segi fizikal kita okey, kemudian tak okey dan perlukan all this. Jadi satu yang kita perlu bina dalam diri kita secara individual, dan kemudian bila kita ada function ataupun position dalam mana-mana organisasi ataupun di mana-mana position lah yang membolehkan kita untuk memberikan pendapat, memberikan atau membuat keputusan untuk tidak meminggirkan mereka yang memerlukan all this lah, accessibility, peluang juga. Tak boleh sampai bila-bila kita kata macam autistik kan, tak apalah, pergilah sekolah special needs, kan ada center, kan ada PPKI, tanpa memikirkan tentang walaupun ada diagnosis, walaupun ada halangan, ada kurang upaya, contoh macam kalau fizikal pun katalah tak ada hanya ada satu tangan. So kita tak boleh limitkan dengan kita punya assumption. Kita tak tengok lagi, kita tak nilai lagi, kita tak kenal pun, tapi kita dah buat assumption. Kalau you begini, you tak boleh ni. You autistic kan, you tak boleh ni ambil course something ke, macam tu. So all this memerlukan mind shift yang sangat besar, dan kita ambil peluang ni lah untuk educate, sebab bila first education lah, educate, faham apa tu ableist, and not to be one, bukannya jom jadi ableist, to learn and not to be one, and do our part lah, in whatever capacity yang kita ada untuk menyokong semua individu tanpa mengira lah. Kalau dulu, kalau lagu raya selalu cakap, oh miskin kaya kan. So tanpa mengira all this status, all this, lah status dari segi OKU ke bukan OKU. And all this lah, like kalau kita boleh terima, kita dah tidak memandang kaum, kan even dalam kita punya opening every time kan, kita punya episode, kita nak meraihkan kepelbagaian. So this is meraihkan lah kepelbagaian,
Sesama kita.
keupayaan. Yes.
Sama kita, absolutely. And macam Didi cakap, at some point in our life nanti, some of us pun akan termasuk dalam kategori OKU, kan?
Whether temporary
sebenarnya Desiree pun pernah temporary.
I pun
when
pernah.
I hurt my shoulder, I dislocated my left shoulder. I had to wear a sling for about a month, and on my left hand, dan saya ni kidal. So imagine, but what was the great thing about me still being able to work? Tak payah tulis, I could type with one hand. Boleh je. So it was like an opportunity for me to strengthen my right hand. Tapi memang masa tu terasa sangat, because benda yang kita anggap mudah sebenarnya susah sebenarnya. It's very difficult. So it's harmful to be ableist sebab we create barriers.
Yeah, so I think in schools as well we do, because if we disclose that a child is OKU, kalau tidak diberi peluang untuk sit for the entrance exam, for example, on an equal basis with those who are not OKU, that is ableist. Because you are making an assumption just because there's a disclosure on the form that the child has a diagnosis or is physically or intellectually or even hidden disabilities wise disabled, you are assuming the child cannot cope with school. Tapi peluang yang sama patut diberi. So kalau dia ada proses saringan tu kena ikut the same standard. Kalau tidak, ia adalah satu sikap ableist oleh pihak sekolah. So I know in government school they take everybody regardless, tapi in most private international school there's always an entrance exam. And when you sit for that entrance exam, they will then tell you if you are the right fit for the school. So, instead of doing that, there should be also a chance given for the child to come and do a trial class, for example. Don't just base on one exam. Don't just base on what you perceive the child to be on one interview, because we all know our neurodivergent kids kadang-kadang perform sangat bagus, kadang-kadang alamak koyak, tak nampak macam mana ni, tak pernah macam ni, hari ni macam ni, tapi keluar tu nervous. I couldn't do it. It's a new environment. I freaked out. I melt down. So these kind of things happen. So it's about giving a second chance. So it's harmful because otherwise a child can be deprived of school, deprived of an education that the child rightly deserves. So janganlah kita tak beri peluang kepada seseorang yang boleh belajar, walaupun belajar dengan cara yang lain. So janganlah kita ableist. Kalau dia boleh belajar muzik, walaupun ada satu tangan je tapi boleh main muzik tu, kita beri peluang. Walaupun tak boleh cakap, tapi boleh main muzik. We see like bands with blind people, and they sing so well, and they sing so like in tune and with amazing instruments to accompany them. Boleh tak kita kata, oh dia pun boleh, bukannya dia tak boleh, dia ada the same abilities as the rest, tetapi unfortunately physically they are disabled. So it's harmful if we exclude them from society because they can contribute so much. And kan Malaysia ni inklusif.
Beri peluang.
Beri peluang.
Kita mesti beri peluang.
So
Kakak,
on
I see
on
you have
that
a burning
burning because dalam tu we are going to lose a lot of excellent talent Kan? Buat masa ni, when we do hiring, at any industry kan, I believe semua ada kesusahan because we don't have enough people. And it is quite a crime for me when we have this talent, kami sayangkan. Yeah? Actually, it's wasted talent. So the impact of this ableism, not understanding that they have disabilities, is quite costly to the country. Yeah. But on top of that, I wanted to also mention the impact on the mental well-being, not only on the neurodivergent individual, but even at the parents level, the additional stress, anxiety, to try to buatkan macam normal, yeah, that is all propped up. Can you imagine how much energy yang disiarkan tu, sia-siarkan untuk to try to, actually that's stereotyping lah, yeah. So the impact on the mental wellness, not only on the individual neurodivergent, tapi ibu bapa and all the rest, even the guru-guru, every stakeholder too, really is all the wasted energy, one, but it does impact the self-confidence. Yeah. It does take away and steal happiness, all this basic thing that we value in life. Yeah. So nilai-nilai yang kami ingin ada dalam keluarga, dalam sekolah, all this akan, it's at risk.
I think everyone deserves to live with dignity.
Yes.
Kan? I think everyone, regardless of abilities. So when we are ableist, we take away the dignity from our friends who are disabled. When, like what Datuk Ras Adiba recently said, think of your disability as your ability.
Yes.
And she did not say in an ableist way, but in a very motivational way, because everyone has a self-worth. And in those who have heard her speak, she often shares how she herself faced discrimination in even getting interviews.
Yes.
Because she has to tick the OKU box.
Yes.
Kan? So that is very dangerous form of ableism, because we have a talent pool. Everyone has a talent. Everyone has a skill. Everyone deserves to live a meaningful life, kan? So it's harmful lah. Let's just say memang sangat bahaya dan jangan buat.
Ada seorang doktor tu, dia memang bagi tahu saya sebab dia dalam pakar geriatric. So jadi dia cakap kan, di ward geriatric tu kita banyak tengok caregivers ataupun care partners yang ada yang akan tolong untuk jaga orang tua. Dan dia kata ada seorang patient dia tu, in the end bila tak boleh swab diri sendiri, yang datang swab tu anak OKU dia.
Wow.
Dan patient tu menangis kepada dia dan cakap, doktor, hari ni saya tahu apakah hikmah yang Allah telah bagi kepada saya dalam memberikan anak ini.
Wow.
See, it took an almost end of life issue for them to appreciate a child that was born disabled, because in the end yang suapkan mak dia pada masa yang mak dia amat memerlukan sokongan adalah anak OKU. So that was a beautiful story, and it was almost like even the health system was ableist to think that anak OKU tak boleh menjadi care partner ataupun caregiver. Tapi boleh je kalau diberi peluang.
And Anit, that's not an isolated story. I recently heard a same story of a family. The autistic son is in his 40s, and the mom, I think, is having a terminal illness, and he cares for his mom at home. Sediakan makanan, make sure the mom ambil ubat. So his kakak just pantau sahaja. So kakak is married with her own family, so dia pantau saja, make sure the ubat is correct dosage and all that. So there you go.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we need to be more inclusive and
Absolutely.
judge less and be proactive in our thoughts.
Okay, so now how do we challenge it? How do we challenge ableism? What can we do to reduce it? Maybe we start with Didi. What do you think?
Well, the concept of ableism ni sendiri, like for myself pun nak faham pun take a while juga. Tapi bila kita dah bincangkan and then kita refer kepada, yalah, kita bandingkan dengan all the other ism, the racism, sexism, kan barulah macam nampak kan. So what we need is definitely education. So kita perlu banyak sebarkan information lah, and then try to educate and create awareness apa tu ableism dan kenapa ableism ni. So it's not entirely macam sengaja. Kadang-kadang kita memang daripada kebiasaan kita kan, macam tu kita assumption kita apa semua, which is not necessarily make you a bad person, tapi we need time to adjust our perspective. So mula dengan kita sendiri, and then bila ada ketika ada situasi yang kita berhadapan dengan mereka yang ableist, kita boleh educate mereka lah. Tapi bergantung sekiranya kita ada masa, kita ada capacity, kita ada kelapangan. Tak semesti macam, oh, dalam keadaan like intense tu kita nak juga betulkan, nak juga correct that person. No, it's not like that, because it's quite delicate, and it's like I said, it's sometimes it's not intentionally done by a person, sebab this is like benda baru jugalah kan, ableist. Kita nak educate the society, and of course the government stakeholders, because kita nak bukan sekadar what you think of it, but what you do, what your action when you already understand that you should not be ableist.
Absolutely. Education is key, right? And I think also, if I can be not as politically correct as Didi, I want to say let's call out the bad behavior.
Yes.
Kan?
Let's advocate for
Yes.
more inclusivity. If CSRs and companies can talk about diversity and inclusion, there has to be some commitment to less ableist behavior in employment, in even their event management. Maybe they could include diversity in terms of disability as well, to showcase talent. All that goes a long way.
Yep.
Indeed, we always say, and as a keen learner, the awareness is regular. The action needs to be matched closer. But I am very proud to be a Malaysian. We are very kind. Kami memang bertimbang rasa, yeah, considerate. These are nilai-nilai that are natural to us as a different race, different culture. So let's put that into action.
Absolutely. And I think another point that Anit briefly touched on is to normalize accommodations.
Absolutely.
Kan, bila kita normalize sokongan tambahan, all this support, sebenarnya semua orang yang mendapat manfaat, bukan sahaja mereka yang kurang upaya or neurodivergent, semua orang boleh benefit from accommodations. Kan, if you just make even your regular toilet dekat public toilet besar sedikit pun, it will benefit, for example, a mom going out alone with a child in a pram.
Yes.
Yep.
Kan? It will benefit a mother going out with a toddler. Adalah, I think now some shopping centres ada the toilets that are slightly bigger, tapi tak banyak. We can see more of that. Kan? So when we normalise this sort of accommodations, semua orang dapat benefit. And like Didi kata tadi, someday kita pun mungkin
Perlukan.
akan jadi OKU in some form.
Yeah.
Kan? So let's go one round and see if we have any closing thoughts on today's topic yang sangat hangat. We'll go to Didi first. Didi, any last words?
Well, let's learn, keep learning lah, keep learning and keep unlearning juga. It's a new concept, dan kita nak, macam saya mula cakap tadi, kita menilai, sebenarnya tak boleh judging. You should not be judgmental, but don't see a person, the value of a person according to their abilities or their diagnosis lah. Like a person is a person. Mungkin you akan rasa macam, oh, it will be expensive to provide job coach ke job training for neurodivergent, a specific department for them, for example. But think about what we had achieved the in the past 100 years kan. Kalau dulu perempuan tak ada tempat pun dalam pekerjaan tertentu, tapi sekarang apa pekerjaan yang perempuan tak boleh buat, semua boleh buat. So it's the same thing. It may cost more, but if you have empathy, think about, yalah, it could be you. You may think that, oh, ini orang lain, like, tak ada kena mengena dengan saya. But if you are a responsible part of society, you should think of them as equal member of society lah. And provide whatever they need to, so that they can contribute to society as much as other people lah.
Absolutely. Kakak, any last words for today?
I think it's simple. Just treat others how you like to be treated.
So profound and simple yet powerful.
I would say
I want to say
please
that lah.
I want to say let's celebrate all abilities.
I love that.
Sokong.
Sokong.
Jom
Semua
kita
sokong.
raikan ke semua keupayaan, tak kira tidak upaya ke, kurang upaya ke, lebih upaya ke, kita raikan semua. Kerana kita ni kan Malaysian, kalau kita boleh makan semua cuisine, kita boleh rayakan semua keupayaan.
Betul.
Absolutely. Food.
Back to food.
As Nori always says, food unites us all.
Oh yeah, we can't be Malaysian if we don't like our food.
Absolutely. So memang topik yang sangat best hari ni. You know, ableism isn't always intentional, tapi let's go back. My favourite takeaway always is the niat lah, right? Apakah niat kami? So even when we accidentally feel we are being ableist, call yourself out on it or ask someone who is from the community, am I being ableist? I think if we can start by correcting ourselves first,
Yeah.
which I do on a daily basis, correct myself.
Which I had to do. I had to learn
Yeah.
about not being ableist and to encourage.
Correct. Then we can walk the talk,
Then
right?
we can.
So, a special request to our listeners as well. If you have any examples of, ableism, your thoughts on ableism, things you've experienced, drop it in the comments. Send us your private messages. We'd love to hear from you, hear your examples, learn from you as well. And don't forget, we are on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and listen to our full podcast on Spotify. And if you'd like to see our faces as well, we're on YouTube. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Right? So with that, we are signing off. Kita Family Podcast, episode 43. See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.